For a couple of years now within the offshore business, people have been quietly complaining about dealing with HSBC, both for personal banking with HSBC Premier, as well as more so on the business side. And no more jurisdiction have people had more problems with HSBC than in Hong Kong. In fact, my own personal dealings and the dealings I've seen other people have brought me to the conclusion that HSBC is the world's worst bank. When someone comes to me and they say that they're having an account with HSBC, I say, we got to get away from HSBC. But if you have an account in Hong Kong, or if someone told you you should get one, I'm going to tell you exactly why so many people have been having problems with HSBC Hong Kong. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson. There are a couple different problems with people who banked or are trying to bank with HSBC in Hong Kong. The first issue is if you don't have an account yet and you're setting up your Hong Kong company, you might think it's logical to just go to one of the banks in Hong Kong. And no bank is bigger in Hong Kong than HSBC. For years, all the company secretaries, the guys who do cheap incorporations, they churn out hundreds of new companies a day, their idea for assistance with bank account opening has been sending you to the Sheung Wan branch of HSBC to one of the people sitting in a shoebox that will help you open an account. And for a while that worked just fine. But the problem is that then HSBC got into some trouble. They had some legal challenges and they started what's called de-risking. They didn't want to accept companies that they felt had exposure. So I know people who live in Hong Kong, they have companies in Hong Kong, they have employees and offices and all of the trappings of a quote-unquote normal business that are based in Hong Kong. Some of them still have accounts with HSBC because they have a relationship with their banker, they're there on a daily or semi-daily basis, they are just basically doing business in Hong Kong, nothing abnormal. The challenge is for everyone who used Hong Kong as an offshore center, as a place to set up a company and trade through. HSBC and honestly most other Hong Kong banks no longer want those companies there because it is a risk to them. They look at this and say, we don't know what someone's doing when they're operating their business from Tahiti and they have their employees on Upwork. We just don't know what that person is doing. And so instead of risking it, we're just going to close all those accounts. It's so bad in some cases that I actually knew of a guy who worked as a senior official at the bank who couldn't get an account at his own bank for his little side business. So if you've been told by some company secretary or someone trying to sell you a company in Hong Kong that they will refer you to a bank and that bank is HSBC, then the answer to them is that's probably not going to work. It's just not going to work anymore. You probably won't get the account. And I've heard from many people who have said that they were referred and they just ended up getting rejected. Now the other problem that people have faced is, well, I already have an account at HSBC. And what I've seen, having formerly had an account myself, is that if they haven't gotten to you already, they're going to start sending you letters. They're going to start sending you 20 pages. Hey, we need to know about this. Hey, we need to know about this. That's not totally abnormal for banks, but they seem to do it a lot more than others, and they seem to do it a lot more frantically. The problem is that unlike other banks, you can't call anybody. The call center is terrible. Nobody knows what they're talking about. Your case gets handed off from one person in a remote call center in the Philippines to the next. No one really understands what's happening with your case, and no one's empowered to help. So in that case, having a huge global bank is actually a detriment for your business because no one will tell you how to fill out the forms or give you any advice at all. Eventually what they'll do, in the case of most people, is they'll come in and freeze your account. You'll log in one day, you can't send anybody any money. You'll call and figure it out. Eventually you'll just give up as most people do and you'll fly to Hong Kong. When you fly to Hong Kong, you'll go to the basement of their business center in Central and you'll wait and you'll see potentially a dozen other people who are there, who are obviously not from Hong Kong, who have businesses there, who are just trying to get their money out and go. I ran into a guy who was a Thai national who was there, and his company had little enough money that he was able just to take it out in cash and put it in a suitcase. I met other people who were Western businessmen who had to wait around for cashier's checks. Some had to come back days in a row. So they're not really that efficient. In my particular case, we did not have a huge problem, but it just became very difficult to deal with him. We couldn't get the answers that we wanted. We tried to close the account over the phone, and finally, this is a couple years ago now, I finally just flew there and I closed the account in person. They threw out every obstacle. I talked to this person, then to that person, then we've got a question, then there's a problem. We can't guarantee how long it'll take. It actually did take me about a day. I was able to do it in the same day, and when I finally got that cashier's check, I ran across town and I deposited it. This is something that people who are new to the offshore field, they're just setting up their first business, they may not understand, is that banks are afraid of risk. It's not like you're in the United States and you're banking in the same city with people that you may know. Okay? When it comes to offshore, the banks have to know who you are, and HSBC in particular has taken a huge de-risking position just to get rid of everything that could be a potential problem. And that's fine to not take on new customers. What's not fine is having company secretaries tell you that they can still get you an account there, even though that game stopped almost 2 years ago. What's even more unfortunate is that if you're still banking there, there's probably a good chance that they're going to eventually come around and be like, hey, you're not living here, what's going on? And it's just going to be kind of one piece of correspondence after the other. You're eventually going to be left with some kind of problem based on everything that I've seen. And so what I would tell you is, if you are banking there now, you need to get a handle on what's going on. I always tell people to have redundancies. If you've got a foreign company in a country you don't live in, you need redundancies. People who are just starting out don't often understand why. Andrew, why do I need 2 or 3 bank accounts? And the reason is very simple. Not only do you want a place to move the money if one of your accounts happens to be closed, but you'd like to spread the money out a bit because you don't want some bank like this one to come in and freeze your account one day and put you totally out of business, to stop you from paying your payroll, to stop you from paying your vendors, to make you jump up and down and scream and have to drop what you're doing and fly to Hong Kong and get a cashier's check and then figure out what to do with that cashier's check. Having multiple options is important. This is why. In 11 years of studying this stuff and many years of doing it, I've seen a lot of these different roadblocks put in my way. This is not the only bank that is problematic, but it is perhaps the most problematic bank from everyone I've talked to. I've heard 0 good stories about them, and yet I see people continuing to sit by hoping for the best, hoping they won't be next, knowing that they probably will be if history is any guide.
I'm Andrew Henderson, and if you're looking for a way to legally reduce your taxes, build your freedom, and create wealth faster as a global citizen, then you've come to the right place. I want you to do 3 things right now. Number 1, click the button to subscribe to our channel. Make sure to get notifications so you never miss a new video. Number 2, get a copy of our #1 best-selling book, Nomad Capitalist, on Amazon and learn all the dozens of benefits of our lifestyle. And number 3, if you're already a 6 or 7-figure entrepreneur and you want to put these strategies in place, go to nomadcapitalist.com and find out how to get some help.